All right, welcome to the Corey Jones Show. I, of course, am your host, Corey Jones. And as my one job is just to keep you safe. And part of my business at Safety Man Consulting, safetyman.co, we train first responders, specifically law enforcement agencies, in verbal de-escalation through verbal judo, tactical communication. We want to increase safety, decrease liability, and improve the outcomes. And I have somebody sitting next to me who's an all-around good guy, but today he's the mayor of Delran, Gary Catrambone. Gary, welcome to the Corey Jones Show. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, please.
Thanks, Corey. So it was quite a journey to become mayor. Started about 23 years ago. I got involved and went to a couple of meetings. Wasn't really thrilled with what I saw. Just felt I could do a good job. Had to learn how to get elected and then get other people elected so that we can make some change. That happened, and fortunately we've been able to do some great things, and moving forward we look to hope for more things that are even better.
Of course.
Sure.
So now your first election, did you run for mayor your first election? Did you run for something else?
I actually did.
Really?
And I lost by about 189 votes.
Oh.
And that's kind of like going to a casino and winning money. It hooked me. I said, if I knew what I was doing, I might be able to do this.
Right.
And it was a bit of a journey to figure out, how to campaign, how to raise money, how to connect with the residents, and get your message out. How to let people know that you had a different idea than what was happening.
Right.
And it's a complicated process. We figured it out. We got some folks elected, and then we gained control of the township, and now we're enjoying a great time, positive feedback, and we're in a situation financially where the township's never been in this good of a situation. So we're really proud of what we've done so far and really looking for the future.
Well, first off, congratulations to that, because financial stability is something that I think is very important to the residents, not just in your town, but in the state as a whole. Because if you're not in a financial hole, that means the state doesn't have to spend money to bail you out. We can use that for other issues as well. So now I know in New Jersey there's two types of mayor situation, right? I've had a couple other mayors on before, and they were so gracious enough to explain the different types of mayor and council.
So it's an unusual circumstance in that the two versions, frankly, are the committee version, which is the other way, not the Delran way. So there are typically 5 elected committee folks, and then they elect their mayor, and they're typically elected for a year at a time. And it gives them an opportunity, if someone doesn't like it or doesn't want to be in that role, for them to shift and change or to rotate it if they want to do it simply, and give everyone a chance to take the reins. In that situation, they're the de facto head of the committee. In our form of government, what happens is the mayor is elected directly from the residents, and it's a 4-year term. So it really gives me an opportunity, and any of the mayors, to really make their mark. It's not a situation where, geez, we have a year, and a year is a flash in government because it takes forever to do anything. So it gives the mayor a chance to really make some plans, see them executed, and it gives the council, which is in our form of government, is more like Congress. They spend the money, they pass the laws, and the mayor really is on the administrative or executive side of the government, and handles more of the day-to-day and more of the personnel things, and that's where you make the changes. How the residents interact with their government is probably the most important thing and the most visible thing for a mayor.
So again, speaking of very visible, COVID is the word that everybody's talking about right now. So I kind of want to get your take as a mayor, as a public official, and as you stated, as part of the executive branch that makes things happen. Take us through the beginning, the surge, and then kind of where we are now with COVID.
Right. So unfortunately, we're in the middle of another potential surge. It's certainly surging. How bad it will get depends on factors beyond our control, certainly. But what's important to know about that is that we have to react to that. We hope to encourage folks to protect themselves and others. But managing it within the township, it's the mayor's call to open the building, close the building, require masks in the building, require our employees to have masks. We provided masks just before the masks came off. So I said, don't throw them away.
Right.
We might need them again. We
Yeah.
don't know. And it turns out that now we do. We're contemplating requiring everyone to have a mask again, regardless of their vaccination status.
Okay.
And those are the things really that the mayor decides. Certainly, in our form of government, we like to have consent of council. Some things require consent of council and some things don't. Typically how you manage the building, because that's not only our staff, which we hope to protect, but the residents that come in. We have so many varied communities within the residents, the senior citizens. We have young folks. Some come in for cheerleading tryouts, and they're not old enough to be eligible for the vaccine.
Right.
So it's all of those factors that you have to kind of look at and say, okay, to protect the most people, we need to do this.
Right.
And so we're really in the middle of discussion with my township administrator as to what we're going to do next. We watch the numbers every day, the case
Right.
counts, not only nationally and in Burlington County, but right in Delran.
Right.
And they're unfortunately going in the wrong direction.
So that had to be a learning curve. So when this started a year and a half ago, your ability to elicit timely, accurate, actionable information may have been hindered, whereas now you probably have those conduits and those channels a lot more up to date, where you can almost probably get it on your phone.
Oh, I can.
Okay.
And a year and a half ago, I wasn't the mayor.
Okay.
So I've only been the mayor since January. So the previous mayor had to make those decisions, and then I came in, and we were a month or two before the vaccine started. The numbers dropped like a rock, and then it was my job to figure out exactly when we would open things up, when the meetings would go from Zoom to in person, and they're currently in person. And now we're ready for, do we have to go back
Right.
to digital? And that's what happens. But fortunately, because of the Burlington County Health Department, they're very interactive. They're very proactive with supplying us with information, and now we have a real good view of what's happening, especially in Delran.
So during the pandemic, my wife and I, we didn't venture out that much. But we did do a lot of online shopping, especially Amazon. And what Amazon creates is, as I'm sure you're aware of, and the foreshadowing may be on the wall with this next question, but a lot of boxes, a lot of recycling.
Yes.
And then we all experienced a recycling issue.
Yes.
So that affected, my township. I'm sure it affected yours. Can you just tell me how you just manage that? I mean, day-to-day things don't seem like it's life-threatening, but it creates trash, it creates a town looking bad, and it creates frustration.
Well, the recycling issue that you're referencing was, all back to the truck driver shortage, and recycling wasn't able to pick up as frequently as they could, and between, the unrelegated shopping I've experienced in my home, where I said, how high are they going to stack these boxes? And this is just today. It became a situation where between that and folks are home. So what do? Maybe you clean out the closet. Maybe you clean out the attic.
Right.
So there was more trash. We had the same problem with trash. So what we turned to was an app that's called Recycle Coach. It was something that the county had in place. I had joined it one time because I was trying to remember, what day is it that my recycling is? And we took the people that signed into that app by explaining to them that it was going to be the answer that they needed, that we took it from less than 900 people. I believe it's over 3,000 now.
Wow.
That have signed up. We kind of utilized that situation to say, look, rather than going to social media and asking the general population who don't always know the right answer. Those folks wanted to know, where can I go one place? And this app did it for us. The best part was that the county and the state and the DEP had already signed up and paid for it. So it was free.
Oh, even better.
So I could say, look, go there, learn what you need to learn. You could put in your address in the app, or you can do it online now. We have it so that you don't even have to have the app, because not everybody has a smartphone.
Right.
And you put your address, it gives you your calendar, when you pick up, when your recycling is picked up, when your trash is picked up. New folks that come into town, they move in. When is my trash night? I live on this street.
Yeah.
And we tell them, sign up, and it'll give you a calendar.
And that's still live today?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be.
Okay.
And we spend a lot of time with our Public Works Department and researching exactly. There's a thing called, where does this go? And you click on that and you search for whatever it is you're trying to get rid of.
Paint is always a hard one, car batteries,
Yes.
all those different things. There's a place for that.
It will tell you either come to the Public Works yard, it gives you the hours and what to do when you get there. It tells you, if you say paint, good example, it'll ask you latex or oil-based, and that way you'll know. So it drills down pretty deep. So, I had somebody the other day said, I want to get rid of one rim for a tire that I no longer have, for a car that I no longer have, and I'm tired of looking at it in my shed.
Yeah, of course.
And, you can do this, you can do that, all the answers. And I said, let me look. So I looked and said, here's the link to Recycle Coach, and here's what you do. And frankly, the response was,
Right.
This is great.
And not only is that helpful for people, but it's also helpful for the environment. I mean, I'm a big environmental person, and I see that we were talking about earlier about some of the fields and some of the renovations that you're doing in town,
Yeah.
with open spaces and things like that. Can you talk about that for a little bit, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. So the ongoing issue, we're a big sports town, as many folks know, especially soccer, but this time of year, baseball is king. We're just ending that season, and there are lots of folks that have access to those fields, and everybody has their idea of what's the best thing for when it rains, or how to fix a hole, or how to get water off the field. And their ideas are good, but not always correct. So what we did was we put together a fields committee. There were a number of committees. We had a communications committee, we had a fields committee. This fields committee was the athletic director from the school system, was the president of the AA, the football club, which is soccer in town, and a number of organizations that need access to those fields. And we talked to them about what their griefs, what their issues were, and then what we found was that they were all pretty similar, and they were sometimes creating the problem themselves.
Okay.
So we knew that it would take a plan and certainly money, and we looked at it the same way we look at roads. We take, there's I don't know, maybe 60 miles of road in our little town. We identified years ago the 40 miles that were in jeopardy or soon to be in jeopardy, and it took us about 12 years, and we've done half of them because they're very expensive. So, but we have a plan. The worst roads are now corrected. So it's getting better, and every time somebody complains, I think about driving in Philadelphia or some towns that where it's really bad.
Yeah.
So the end result is we needed some sort of a sustainable method, similar to the roads method, that would renovate these fields, and then educate the coaches and the parents and the volunteers as to how these fields can remain viable longer. Let's face it. It's kids running and sliding and diving and playing, and they're kicking dirt around, and that happens. But how they address it each day, each night, is really going to change how long it takes between the major renovations. We literally are in the final stages of renovating 2 of the fields, a softball field and a youth field, and we're going through the town. We had the township engineer a look at all the fields, and we kind of put together, okay, these are the most used and the most in need, and then we'll hit the various fields throughout. And some of them are soccer fields, and that's not about dirt, that's about grass.
That's not real grass. Yeah.
You know, many times it rains. We call the AA and the football club, you know, the soccer group, and sell them that, you know, the field's closed. And then I'll drive by and I'll see a pickup game on the fields of, you know, maybe adults. And they're, you know, they put I don't know, I'm not a soccer player,
yeah.
but they'll put that one foot down and they'll kick the other way and they tear up the field.
Yeah.
And so we're working on a way of signaling to them bigger signs, this field's closed.
Well, they just signaled to me that we have to take a commercial break. I hate to interrupt because I was really interested in that because my kids play sports, soccer. We actually won two championships with me as coach who've never played soccer before. Never played soccer before. So it was an accident. I had nothing to do with it. But we're going to be right back in about 2 minutes after this commercial break with Mayor Gary Catrambone from Delran Township. Visit, spend some money, go say hi. 2 minutes. Hey, thanks for sticking with us through those commercials. We were looking at the Donkeys commercial, so I think we might have a lunch plan after this. I'm not quite sure exactly when that's going to happen. But as everybody knows, and as you know, Mr. Mayor, I'm a retired law enforcement officer, did 27 years. And I know as part of the mayor, you oversee first responders in your town. Can you kind of tell me about the police, fire, and EMS situation in Delran?
Absolutely. So we're very proud of the system that's in place and the folks that are manning all the first responder. So first of all, in our form of government, it's interesting how this works. Most people don't know this. So the police are a department within the township. So the police chief is somebody that I speak with often. The fire department is a district. So they're their own entity, but obviously they work together. The EMS, while they're called Delran EMS, they're a private company that we engage because it's our obligation and certainly a responsibility that we take very seriously to provide those kinds of services. So the fire department are all volunteers. They are amazing. And recently, just this spring, we had a terrible fire in a section that a complex that's called the Garden Club. So this was a tribute to what they do and how they do it. They're volunteers, but they keep a crew on duty in one of the firehouses overnight. So this was an early morning. The fire was out within 10 minutes.
That's incredible.
There were no serious issues. We did some proclamations for the folks that were right there that literally rescued people from their third floor balconies. This was an incredible fire that moved fast, and without their quick response and knowledge of what they were doing, that could have had a much different outcome. I watch the news too, and I see sometimes things don't always turn out as well as they did in Delran that night. So that is something that when when I'm sure you've been there, at the Burlington County has a fire training academy. We had the opportunity, a couple of the council folks and myself went to that to watch them train. And you just don't know what they're doing. You certainly gain a respect when you watch them go into that building that you know there's a fire in because it's a training center. And then they open those big doors. And I was 50, 60 feet away at least.
Feel that heat, right?
And it was an overwhelming heat. And I said, these folks are going into that.
Right.
This is what they signed up for. So it just takes your level of appreciation so much further.
Well, can I say this, as a former first responder for 27 years, the fact that you came and watched them train and were that close means so much to them, because it meant so much to me as a sergeant training my officers and having the chief of police, the mayor, some people from the council coming to our training so they could appreciate what we're doing. So I definitely want to say thank you to that. And whether or not your firefighter said that to you, they definitely appreciate that. Meant a lot to them as well. So thank you for that. So tell me about like the relationships that you're building with your law enforcement and your community, especially in 2021, when that's very important.
Right. So the national climate is not the best right now. But I've tried to make every effort, along with council, to really nourish the relationships within the communities. That the police, fire, EMS, those folks are doing a job that many people wouldn't, even if given the opportunity. I watch, and some of that stuff is scary, and then there's the bullets. So that takes it to a whole different level. So what I've tried to do is let them know that we support them. We had a little, they do a thing annually with some awards for the police. They never had a mayor's award. So this year we started a mayor's award.
Oh, great.
I explained to them that we supported them and that the residents supported them, and rather than telling them what the residents told me, we put together a little 5-minute video of the residents talking about their appreciation for what they did. Business owners, private residents, people that called and had them respond. It was well received. But they do other things in the community that directly impact the residents. We have I don't know if you've heard of the straight to treatment, which is something that is needs to be promoted more for folks that have issues with addiction. And they do this. They promote it. We had a big event. We had the Burlington County prosecutor come out, and we had most of the council that could get away during the day. I was there, and it was just something to see. And the police know that we're with them. So real quick, so people understand what straight to treatment is, that would be if I have an addiction, I may be even in possession of narcotics, I can come to the station, turn myself in, not face any charges for those narcotics, and then there'll be professionals there would help get me to a treatment program? Right. We had a van there that day, and they were knocking doors and saying, look, if you know somebody, I talked to somebody, and I was in front of one of the stores, handed them a flyer, and the woman told me the story of how her daughter had been in trouble and got treatment, and thank God. And she said to me, I wasn't doing anything but handing out a brochure, but how important that was. And the police recognized that we understand this is not in their job description to do that. Right. So they literally took it upon themselves to work with the county prosecutor and get folks help. That's great. And we were prepared to do it that day. That's great. On the lighter side, a gentleman that had a pizza place called Pizza Amore, I'll give him a plug, opened up an ice cream side of his business, and we did a thing we called Cops and Cones that he was promoting. We showed up, some of the council showed up, had a great turnout. The police were there, not only scooping and doing that, but they had a police car there. So the kids could sit in the car and hit the siren and learn that the police are not necessarily what they see on TV,
Right.
that small fraction of folks that don't do a good job,
Right.
but that these are the people that protect you. It was really incredible.
That's great.
And,
That's great.
you know-
and I hear that you have a pretty diverse community, from senior citizens to other ethnicities.
Oh, my goodness.
And you have to interact with them as well, and I'm sure there's lessons learned there.
Well, certainly. We have the senior citizens, we really take great strides to make sure that they're taken care of in town. The black community, the Turkish community, the Brazilian community, all very large within our town. So, beyond that, the youth are a whole separate issue, that working with them, especially with regard to public safety.
Of course.
So, through what we like to call one positive contact at a time, we try to make that interaction happen, and people realize, they're not the bad guys. The bad guys are the bad guys, and they're just protecting you from the bad guys.
Right. I like that statement too, one positive contact at a time. And some people may only have one contact, right?
Yep.
And you want them to be able to relate that story.
Yep.
Right.
So it is something where we work very hard so that some of the officers know enough Portuguese to talk with the folks that are from the Brazilian community. I don't want to jinx anything, but we've reached out to the Turkish community in hopes of getting an officer that's Turkish.
Awesome.
And that's
Great.
speaks their language, so that there's no miscommunication. That happens far too often, but it's hard because right now
definitely
just
does.
hiring officers. I understand the climate is not necessarily the best climate to be a police officer right now, but I'm hoping that through our support and interaction that they'll recognize that we appreciate them.
Right. Now, I see that there's something big that's going to happen on September 24th. So I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah. So we're doing a job fair. This is the strangest flip-flop of that situation. It used to be all the people that needed jobs were lining up trying to get the few jobs that were available. And now it's the other way around. Everyone needs employees, from the local diner to the big stores, to the chain stores. Everyone's in need of more employees. So we're doing a job fair, but it's kind of backwards, that I can't believe the response we're getting from the businesses when they're approached, that they want to be there. Because if there are folks looking for work, there's work, and we're very excited about doing that. And there, there's lots of things that happen in town. I mentioned the communications committee earlier. We're trying to reach out to the folks the way they want to be, approached. So, the millennials and younger, that's easy.
Yeah.
Social media,
Yeah.
Facebook, all the things, emails, website, that's easy. Senior citizens, maybe not. So we're working on using something similar to the reverse 911 to call them. We're going to do a mailer that they can say, yes, I want to get the paper version of the things that are posted, so that it's very expensive to mail if you're mailing to 6,400 homes. But not so much if it's just the 800 seniors that want to do that, or 1,000 seniors.
Right.
So we're excited about that, and to tell them about all the things that are coming up that we do depending on COVID, like our version of National Night Out is Delran Night Out. It was incredible success before the COVID thing hit.
Yes.
And we had thousands of people, and we brought fireworks back, and it was just a real positive thing. We do a winter festival each year that kind of morphs into different things. And every time I'm there, I have residents say, this is what we want.
That's great.
So,
That's great. You know what else they want? I wanted to save the best for almost last. We have an Olympian from your town.
We sure do.
And before we have to go, I want you to talk about how that must have felt as mayor to welcome Carly Lloyd back.
Well, so this all started, we were elected, and and we were installed, and then probably a month later was the first gold medal. And we put together a parade in 9 days.
Nice.
I wasn't the mayor at the time, but the community gathered around, we did a parade, we had a tremendous celebration, and now our Carly Lloyd just announced her retirement. So, you know, we are in the planning stages. Nothing is set in stone, but
You heard it here first.
that's right. You scooped everybody that we're going to be having basically Delran Township and Carly Lloyd's retirement party.
Awesome.
We're working on some big things. It will have to likely be open air because of what's happening. But we've got sign on. We've worked with Carly's schedule, and she is good for the date that we've selected. I can't announce that yet, but we're working on some things to make that just the best thing. And something I said to Carly, I said, look, I don't want this to be another public appearance for you that you dread going to. I want this to be fun for you.
Right.
And I think that's going to happen. We're working real hard for that.
That's great. Mr. Mayor, this has been an exciting interview. So many good things that you're doing with Delran Township and the community as a whole. I really appreciate a lot of things you said. Again, from a first responder perspective, just the fact that you took your time to go watch the first responders train. And then the second thing I'm going to steal, and I'm going to teach it to every agency that I train, is having the residents put together that little video of appreciation of their first positive contacts with law enforcement. How can people get a hold of you to seek information, give you a kudos, or, sometimes it happens, make a complaint about something that needs to be fixed? Look at that camera and let them know.
Or the other. So you can certainly reach out to me any way possible. My phone number is listed. Social media, you can reach out to me through social media. Email is listed. It's all on the website. Or because I've lived in the same neighborhood for 36 years, I won't tell you how old I was then, but it was much younger. Knock on my door or let me know. Drop me a note. We try to be as responsive as we can be so that we can keep people safe. We're certainly in a situation now where public safety is really of the utmost importance, and frankly, if we could all just watch out for one another, be vigilant, watch out for your neighbors, and stay Delran proud.
Delran proud. Mayor Gary Catrambone from Delran Township. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your time. I know you have a busy day and you got to get back to work planning that Carly Lloyd party. So come back next time, watch the Corey Jones Show. Stay safe, and as always, be ready.
Thanks, Corey.